mean to wear your values? Well, it is about being in alignment with who you are as a person, how you want to show up in the world, being aware and being conscious and being able to look at cause and effect. That's part of my purpose in terms of outside of my company, is to be able to educate folks about what that means and what they can do to be able to better align with what their values are when it comes to their clothes and their clothing purchases.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Corlin, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Welcome to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. Now, I am really excited about today's episode because we are talking fashion, and y'all know that I love to talk about that. So today's conversation, I think, will change the way that you look when you think about your clothes and your activewear, the power that you have as a consumer, and what it truly means to lead with intention. So, like I said, this episode is exciting for me because I think it really aligns with the Lead Like a Girl brand. And if you think about the fashion industry, what if it could just eliminate waste? I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but
that's a pretty big question.
Right. Like, what if it could eliminate waste? What if what you wear could reflect your values? So our guest today is actually building that future. So before we dive into it, just a quick reminder, Lead Like a Girl on YouTube. We'd love for you to subscribe, and Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms. Visit us at leadlikeagirllab.com for all of your episodes and all the Lead Like a Girl stuff. So today we also want to just take a moment and think about Jamie. Jamie has had a loss in her family, so she is in our prayers. And Jamie, we can't wait to have you back soon. Mm-hmm. So Tia Robinson is a sustainability expert, TEDx speaker. I'm feeling kind of left out today. TEDx speakers we got here in the house. And the CEO and founder of Vertical Activewear, which, by the way, Georgia's first B Corp certified apparel manufacturer. That is
so
huge.
Cool.
So she is transforming the fashion and manufacturer industry. And, you know, it's with on-demand, waste-free production. And I think that's just really cool. With 15 plus years in marketing, merchandising, and wellness, Tia brings a rare approach to sustainable fashion, one that blends with like innovation, ethics, and mindfulness. Again, that is all the things that Lead Like a Girl is about here. And her work has been featured in Essence, Shape, and New York Magazine. As the founder of Vertical On Demand and part of Georgia Tech's ATDC portfolio, she is reshaping how clothing is made, consumed, and valued. So, and I love this. Tia's mission is bold. I want people to feel like they are wearing their values. I read that. I loved it. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to talk to this girl. So welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Thank you so much.
Hi, Tia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. Let's get into it. And listen, one of the things, like I said, that really, as I started just reading about you, really getting to know your values and your mission here, I said, you know, her story really empowers women that we're always talking about taking risk and building with intentionality, disrupting industries. You know, for me, it is the automotive industry, but I would love if it was the fashion industry. So I just love that you're doing something new and something that is really long overdue. So I want to get us kicked off with a few icebreakers. So hopefully, Corlin, you're not ready for these, but maybe you are.
I
Uh,
am never ready for your icebreakers. You always catch me off guard, and I feel like my answers are usually 50%
that's okay.
garbage, 50% something else.
Well, I'm going to start with Tia, and then you can jump in wherever you like, Core. So the first one is, what's one item of clothing in your wardrobe that you absolutely refuse to get rid of, even if you never wear it? Tell us.
So I have the very first jacket that I bought when I was a teen. It is a chocolate suede jacket. It's one of those ones that's fitted at the waist and kind of flares out a little bit, but totally back in style because chocolate was like the color
Yep.
of the season. So I got a
Mhm.
chance to wear it and I was like, it fits, but
I was
it's
going to say, I'm just mad that it fits, that you could say that it fits.
it
Mhm.
fits. It isn't necessarily button, but it fits, right?
I can get it on my arms, and it's an open coat. It's fine.
Right.
Exactly. So it was the first purchase that I made when I started working in retail as a teen. And I got the job because I wanted to get the jacket. And like back in the 90s, it was just like the jacket was like $79, which was like
A
unheard
lot.
of. It was
Right.
like, that's a lot of money. That's probably like 300 now. But I was like, I
Right.
wanted it so bad that I went and got a job, selling shoes and bought the jacket. And so I still have the jacket in my closet.
I
That's
love it.
funny. I have I don't know, what do you call it? Velour suede. I mean, it's more like velour, not suede, but
Yeah.
it's like purple jacket, like a blazer. And I love that thing. I saw it and it was completely overpriced, more money than I wanted to spend on something that wasn't very much a timepiece. But I spent on that and I wore it. And now every now and then I'll throw it on. I'm like, nope, not going to come out today. And I just like have it in my closet. But the other thing that I refuse to get rid of is I have a handful of just my power heels from business, and I just don't work in a career right now where I get to wear heels at all. But I probably one of those weird ladies that I love wearing heels, like going out and having pants with heels, but I have no place to wear them. But they're like the ones that you buy that you probably wear with an outfit, and I just have them in a box underneath my bed, and I'll just try them on. And I've worn a couple times, but those real cute peak toe stiletto heels that'll come out just for the right moment, and then realize like halfway through the night, like, why am I doing this to myself? My calves are burning. I'm getting a blister on my toe. It's like
Well,
one of those things like, oh gosh.
Portland, I got an idea for those, and we'll talk about this. We talked about it a little bit on the last episode, but Harrison will thank me later. But I got some ideas of things you could do with those.
I know where you're going with this, and I'm sure he would love that so much.
Yeah, okay.
Just saying.
So
You got to
mine.
tune into our last episode to see what that is about.
So here's mine. So I am a total thrifter, and I love that surprises people about me because people always say, "Oh my God, what you're wearing that blazer." Most of the time, everything that you see me wear is thrifted, but I do like high end pieces. I do try to thrift for high end pieces, and I have this leather jacket that is so cute. And for years, I have this section in my closet that's like my wishful thinking, that's like two sizes below my size, and
Mhm.
it's worked for me over the years that I've been able to wear those things one day, but this jacket is like this quilted leather here. It's really expensive. Matter of fact, when I Googled it, when I found it, there was a picture of pink with this jacket on. And I was like, and I got it at the Salvation Army. It was like half off Wednesday, whatever the case may be. I refuse to get rid of it. That thing is probably a size 2, and probably in my whole life, I'm never, ever, ever gonna fit it.
I have a couple of those where you just gotta try them on. Like, I just want to see if what I'm doing is working. Nope,
Yeah.
back
Nope.
on this shelf. Not getting rid of it
Every
though.
winter I try it on, and it's just like, it's just not. I'm never gonna be a size 2, but I'm never gonna give it away either. So
Well,
that's my
never say never, because there's definitely been times when I've been like, I had maroon boots. Like this was my thing during the season. Like I had maroon boots. Like maroon is another color this season, and like I gave them away, and I was like, oh, they
yeah.
were the
Yeah.
perfect style,
Yeah.
because fashion comes back around.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
so, like, stuff 90s and the 2000s, the quality was different,
Yep.
the color was rich. And then I go and look in the closet and I'm like, I gave those away because they weren't
Yeah.
on trend, right? They
Yeah.
didn't work for my wardrobe at that time. So,
Yeah, I give way too much stuff away. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more, and that is, what's one wellness or mindfulness ritual that you practice no matter how busy life gets for you? What you got, Tia?
that's easy. Meditation,
Mm.
breath work. I meditation, breath work. So I am an avid meditator. I have been meditating for 18 years now. I've
Oh, wow.
trained and been certified in mindfulness and all of that stuff. And so I literally get up every morning and I start my day with meditation and prayer. And so the days when I'm rushed and I like feel like I can't get it in, I find time to get it in. And so that has been a daily practice for me for the past 18 years, and it will be something that I hold on to for the rest of my life. So that's
I love that. Yeah, we can have a whole episode just on that, Tia.
yep.
And I call myself a prayer warrior, but I really need to be intentional about really that, I guess, just pairing the prayer with the meditation with the mindfulness. That's what I need to really
Hmm.
connect the three of them. And I really believe that that's going to be my happy place. So I'm gonna give
Hmm.
you a call on that because I think that's
Mm-hmm.
another episode. But I want to get into just getting a good understanding, like, how did this all come about? Like, I assume, like myself, you've just always loved fashion. You were a girly girl, all of that stuff. But tell me how this whole thing, as far as fashion and sustainability and that whole thing came about.
Yeah, so it was a few aha moments, right? So I got really big into meditation and fitness. And as a result, like during that time, there weren't really collections, right? And sets that were being made when it comes to activewear. You buy a legging, you buy a sports bra, you go work out, right? And so what I decided that I wanted to do was I hired a seamstress and was like, hey, I have an idea for this top, this legging to go to my dance fitness classes, and had the seamstress make it. And the girls in my class were like, where'd you get that from? And I was like, I had it made. And they were like, oh, well, can you have something like that made for us as well? And so what started off as something for me ended up growing into a business where like I was selling like dance shorts and leggings and stuff. And in 10 months, I think I sold like 25,000, just like, little items that were made. And I was like, I think I might have a little business here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
What were you
I
doing at the time though, while you were doing it? So what
Mhm.
was your full-time gig at this
Oh,
time?
I was in corporate. So I was in
Okay.
corporate. I was miserable. It's the reason why I got into meditation, because I was dealing with stress and anxiety and burnout, perfectionism, self-doubt, all of that stuff that, you go into the corporate world. And, as a girl, for me, like I was like, I want my name on the corner office and I want to be this like VP of marketing and this boss chick. And then I got there and I was like, this place is toxic.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't
yeah.
want to do this. I don't
Isn't
like
that
these
so
people.
curious that it's like you find out all these things that you're chasing for and you finally arrive, you finally get the thing and you're like, what was I watching as a child that I put this like misconception or something? Like it just was just completely
Yeah.
not what you were expecting.
Yeah.
No. And again, whole nother episode, Tia. You see, we're gonna have you back quite a bit this year.
I'm ready because I got stories for days. But
So,
so I was in corporate and my doctor was like, you got to figure out something to help deal with your stress levels. Like you can have a stroke at 20 something years old. And so I got into mindfulness and got into fitness really, really heavy. And so that's kind of how the business started in terms of like me getting into fitness and wanting to curate these cute, looks. And I stayed in corporate for a while and I kind of dilly dallied with it and then decided that I was going to kind of take it seriously because folks kept on reaching out to me and was like, hey, do you have any more stuff? And I'm like, I'm kind of focused on this. I just kept on getting emails and people like, hey, like I loved what you were creating. We want you back. So I started to take it seriously probably around like 2016, 2017. And during that time, because I had learned about mindfulness and I was living a more intentional and aware life, I knew to do something, I wanted to make sure that I did it through a mindful lens, right? So I started to educate myself about sustainability and just being able to choose quality fabrics. Like, what's the equivalent of like organic food but for fashion, right? So that's kind of how I started the search when it came to sustainability and getting into that space. But what really, really changed everything was a trip that I went to Ghana and being able to see the effects of our fashion on that community. That's really what kind of created vertical activewear as we know it.
So, can you give us a little bit of the like the high level version, the science and like really the industry challenge or the problem that there is right now so we can understand full circle why sustainability is really something that's important and something that we should all pay attention to?
Yeah, so specifically for what we do, so vertical activewear manufacturers clothes on demand. And the reason that we do it that way is to combat overproduction. So we create clothes, or manufacturers create clothes to supply demand. When you think of demand, just think of all the trends and the colors, that are in style, right? You go to websites, fast fashion websites, you see new looks every day that are dropping. Well, that's not typically how we used to do things back in like the 80s and 90s. We kind of had like 4 seasons where we would drop collections, and now we're dropping collections every day. So 365 new pieces, new designs, new styles, new colorways, new silhouettes, and all of that stuff. And so we're feeding the machine of people wanting something new on trend. And typically, what the industry does is the industry will forecast what is going to be hot and what's going to sell. And so, as a way to prevent an item from selling out and having to go back to the manufacturer and have it reproduce, what they do is they over forecast. And so they overproduce as a way to make sure that they have items that are on the shelves. But the dirty secret about the industry is that retailers know that 30% of all garments produced aren't going to sell. So those items that actually end up selling out are very, very rare because there's so
Mm.
many items that are being introduced into the marketplace. So think of the clearance items that you see, in stores and what that clearance rack looks like. And then when you think of online, when you think of heavily discounted items, those are all of the overproduced garments that they are looking to basically sell so that they can replace them with new items. And so the issue with those garments is that when they don't sell, they end up in one or two places and eventually one place, which is the landfill, right? First, they probably will go the donation route where items are donated to organizations or even imported to other countries, marginalized countries. And that's why the trip that I had to Ghana was so impactful because I got to see what happens to those donated clothes. Like they end up being shipped to Ghana. Keep in mind that the quality of the clothes when it comes to fast fashion is different, right? Like you're not going to have a cashmere sweater that's over there, right? You're going to have something that will disintegrate in like 3 washes, right? Quality is to get it made really, really, really quick and to get it on shelves. So by the time some of those items make it to some of these uh, donation sites or is imported, they may end up being dry rotted, or the quality of it is just really poor. They're ripped apart, or they may be eaten through when it comes to rodents and stuff like that. So what happens to that waste? Well, now these communities have to make makeshift landfills to deal with all of the clothes that were imported that aren't even sellable, right? And so that's truly the effect of overproduction. We are producing clothes that are literally made from shelf to landfill. And when they break down, they're polluting the airways, the waterways, and the soil because of the quality of the actual materials.
Wow. Wow. That there's the problem. Thanks for asking that, Corp, because I
Sorry if
think it's
that wasn't the clip note version, but
no, I think it's important. I don't know that's probably the fastest place to get there, but I think that one, we don't think about it, and if we do think about it, it's really understanding that it's not just a buzzword, sustainability. Like this is a problem, and
mhm.
this is why it's a problem. And I love that, it just kind of came full circle. Like it sounds like you weren't thinking about that. You were just thinking about, wearing something cute and, doing what you like to do. And then I just love the fact that you took that leap of faith to say, I'm leaving corporate and doing my own thing, which I believe that there are a lot of our listeners, by the way, that I think are in that boat, that they're in that either space of, I need to do something, I want to do something, or I just did something. So it sounds like you took that leap of faith and said, I think I got something here.
Yeah, totally. And again, my mindfulness practice wouldn't allow me to ignore what it is that I saw. Like when you know better, you're supposed to do better, right?
Right.
And so when I saw the end result of what that waste was and how, like, we're not even responsible for our waste because a lot of the garments that are being imported come from the US, China, or the UK, right?
Right.
But they end up in the backyards of people who haven't even purchased these items. And so when I
Right.
started to educate myself about that in the process, like
Right.
I just couldn't ignore it. I couldn't ignore it. I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. If we know that 30% of all garments made are not going to sell, then why are we even making them?
Right.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Well, and I think the other piece of the puzzle too is that I think a lot of people are like, well, they'll just get donated. Well, then you're sending the clothes to countries that are in developing countries where you think if you don't on the surface you think you might be helping, but all you're doing is doing a huge disservice to all these local clothing makers that are in the country, like Ghana, for example, or any other developing country, where
Mhm.
they just get inundated with all these free things, where you're bringing the economy down because the people that are in country trying to make a living selling their own clothes, well, why would I buy your stuff if I can get these things from America or other more developed countries for free? And so it's kind of a double-edged
Mhm.
sword where we're giving them waste and we're giving them overproduction also, which is, I love the concept of your business because it's coming at a couple ends of
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
with this challenge.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is
And I think,
when you say wearing your values, like
yeah.
this is what we're talking about. Like, right. When you say that, what exactly do you mean?
So, the thing about clothing and clothing manufacturing when it comes to the consumer is that the consumer doesn't know. Like when I say it's an industry secret, like it really is.
Yeah.
The consumer doesn't know because we're not reminded of what landfills look like in our
Right.
backyards anymore, right? Like back in the 70s, there was 20,000 landfills in the US, and like now I think that there's like 2,500, right? So we don't have landfills in our backyard where, people are feeling the effects of the waste and how it is that they buy and how it is that they consume. So
Right.
that's one aspect of being able to educate the consumer about the effects of on-demand manufacturing, but excuse me, the effects of manufacturing from a traditional standpoint. But
I,
well, what does it mean to wear your values? Well, it is about being in alignment with who you are as a person, how you want to show up in the world. And so when I say wearing your values, the reason why I started this business and created this company was really to align with my mindfulness practice, right? Being aware and being conscious and being able to look at cause and effect. So, when I look and I talk about this topic of overproduction, a lot of people don't know that it's even an issue, right? And when they find out, their number one question is like, what can I do? What can I do? Because I think a majority of people, when they hear that it's an issue, they want to be like, well, I don't want to be a part of the problem. Right.
Right.
So to be able to wear your values is really about, being in alignment. And I think that that's part of my purpose in terms of outside of my company, is to be able to educate folks about what that means and what they can do to be able to better align with what their values are when it comes to their clothes and their clothing purchases.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so on that note, because I swear, so I try to recycle, I try to do I try to bring, little things like bringing my shopping bags, always having them in the back of my car and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all of that. But this isn't an area, again, I thrift and it's not, unfortunately for me, it didn't come to me based on sustainability. It came to me on, I just love unique things and shopping. But so when someone says, what are the things that I can do specifically in this area, talking to our ladies, because we know that a lot of our Lead Like a Girl listeners are women that love to shop. What can we do?
Yeah. So I want to say, because I think sometimes people hear this and they get a little antsy about what the process is. Like they want to align with their values, but then they're like, oh my gosh, like it's so much pressure. And I don't want
Right.
anybody to feel like that there's pressure, right? Because sustainability in itself as an industry isn't perfect, right? We make our product out of recycled water bottles. Well, recycled water bottles and plastics may be something that another company is like, well, we make our stuff out of, avocado shells because it's more biodegradable, right? Whereas another company may say that we use bamboo, and then another company will maybe like, well, we use cotton because this is the issue with bamboo, right? So there are multiple ways of being able to slice the pie. When it comes to sustainability, I think what's most important is that people do something and they're able to do it consistently. So I tell people all the time, like, there are certain things that I can't necessarily find from a sustainability standpoint in terms of being able to support smaller businesses or even medium-sized businesses. There's certain things that I'm going to have to go to a Zara and get, right? But what I encourage people to do is, one, buy what they love, buy what they know that they're going to wear, right?
Mm.
Because when it comes to trends and things like that, we'll wear things one or two times. The quality may not be great. And even if the quality is great, like I always bring up the example when I'm speaking about those like red, like Snoopy boots that were like hot on social media like a few months ago or whatever. Like, are we really going to wear those?
No.
Yeah, like, you're going to take a picture in it and that's it. Like, I'm not even wearing those outside, right? So my thing is that buy what you love. And I learned that from my parents, like, growing up. I'm a thrifter as well. And I will spend money on the things that I love and that I know that I'm going to keep and that are going to be investment pieces, right? I always say, like, man, if I started buying like wool and cashmere sweaters back in, the 90s and the 2000s, as opposed to all the acrylic ones that I bought that I washed and they shrunk, like
Right.
I'd have a great collection of sweaters, right? And I would be able to recycle those and use those. And so again, buy what it is that you love. If you're not going to be able to get 10 wears out of it, then really kind of question your purchase, right? Thrifting is another area that's great because that maximizes the amount of wears that a garment is going to get, right? And that keeps clothes out of landfills. And then there are things that we can look at, again, whatever floats your boat in terms of how you want to buy and purchase when it comes to the actual fabrication of a garment, whether that's recycled materials or whether that is organic cottons, or even, I have a vendor that we work with that works with local farmers that actually farm the cotton and mill the cotton, and we're able to make t-shirts that come from Georgia or North Carolina farms, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, even localize, the commitment to localization when it comes to sustainability is really, really huge, and being able to funnel some of that money and that income back into local businesses, local farmers, and things of that sort is truly important. And then also there's the on-demand manufacturing piece. And we're kind of new to the game, making some noise, disrupting some things, but being able to buy items that are made to order helps to keep items out of landfills. We, make things, you get an order online, we make them and we ship them out. And so there's not a whole bunch of stuff that is being produced that are on shelves that's at risk of being, making the journey to the landfill, sooner rather than later. So
I love that.
those are a
I
few
don't know,
things.
Cora, we might have to do a Lead Like a Girl collaboration here.
I
Feeling it.
I can see it now. I think this is so interesting, Tia, because I would love for you to talk a little bit about what it means to be a B Corp.
Mhm.
And then also this vertical on demand, you just touched on it a little bit, but I think that this whole concept is fascinating. And Jessica touched on it earlier on, but it really revolves around being willing to take a risk into a non-traditional way of doing retail, the way of manufacturing, the way of supplying everything, which I think is, the challenge is that you want to compete on price, or people think that you have to compete on price. And that just, it's not the case necessarily if you have a unique point of view or a unique piece that you bring to the table. Can you share a little bit about like the risk that you took in this, and then also kind of the things that set you apart from just normal activewear, like
Yeah.
what those things are?
Yeah, so the B Corp distinction, I think that there's probably about 8 or 9,000 B Corps in the globe. And so that's really about our commitment when it comes to purpose over profit. And not that, we're B Corps are profit based businesses and things of that sort. We put our commitment to the environment, our commitment to sustainability as really our branding when it comes to our company and our organization, first and foremost, as opposed to, we've got great quality leggings also, right? But, we also do things a little bit differently to align with our commitment to purpose. And so we were able to get our B Corp certification here in Georgia and be the first and only so far from a manufacturing standpoint, or to support the apparel industry, which we're very proud about. It's a process to get a B Corp certification. And so we were committed to going through the process. The team was great. And I think, about a year later, we were able to get that distinction. So super happy about that. When it comes
And for
to
those that don't know, can you break down what is it? Like what is it? What does it mean?
Yeah, so the B Corp certification, in terms of what it means, it really just separates us from other companies in terms of how it is that we set up our business, right? So our business is set up to put purpose and the planet first and foremost. And so when you see that B Corp distinction, you understand that these businesses are purposeful and intentional in terms of how it is that they go about their business. Now, every business is a little bit different, but for us, we looked at paying our employees a livable wage, water consumption, waste, how it is that we support localized jobs in the community, recycling. And so there's all of these different areas, when it comes to B Corp that your company needs to adhere to. And you get basically scored based off of that to be able to say that, you've earned that distinction. And so we've been able to earn that.
That's one of the things that I found really interesting in researching B Corps on my own, is that it gives you a little bit of an easy way to sift through all the companies out there. So if you feel like sustainability and the things that Tia's talking about really resonate with you, paying your employees a living wage, being transparent with your business practices, making sure that there isn't downline trafficking in your manufacturing. So things like that going on to the B Corp website or looking for that designation is a really easy way to kind of eliminate some of the companies that you do or don't want to do business with just based on those things, which I think is really remarkable, because it's not easy to get that distinction. And I'm sure you could probably share to that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of reporting, and it's not just a one-time thing. You have to consistently produce reports and be transparent as long as you carry that distinction.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can lose it. We're constantly updating not only the B Corp folks, but our customers as well, right? We want to be able to show what their dollars are going to in terms of the impact that we're making.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's circle back. So tell us about your business model. Tell us about this vertical on demand. How does that work for you and for your customers?
Yeah, so in terms of how that works for us and our customers, um, vertical activewear is our sustainable apparel brand. So customers can go to our website and pick an item that they'd like. Sports bra, leggings, wraps, dresses, and they add their product to cart. And then we are notified that there's an order, and then we go ahead and cut sew and ship the product to our customers within about 10 to 15 business days. And again, that is a way for us to be able to manufacture on demand to keep unsold garments out of landfills. And so that's one aspect of the business. But one of the great things that kind of came out of us starting our business, and just to kind of go back, we officially kicked off in December 2019, and then COVID hit. And so we got tons of press. As a former publicist back in the day, so I was calling all my reporter friends, like, hey, I got this company or whatever. And they're like, great, we're going to feature you. And supply chain was horrible at that time. So, companies were basically making items, manufacturers rather, were making items like PPE materials and things for hospitals. Making leggings wasn't a priority. Folks were like,
Even though we were all shifting to wearing them all of a sudden, right?
Right.
we were wearing leggings and t-shirts and sweatshirts, but making those items wasn't a priority. And so
Right.
what ended up happening is I had a strong launch, but ended up having to refund orders because, 3-4 months later, I wasn't able to fulfill items working with my manufacturer at that time. And
Yeah.
so I decided that I was never going to allow myself to be at the whim of another company when it comes to my growth. And so, at the suggestion of like my dad and someone I knew in manufacturing, they're like, "Well, why don't you just open a manufacturing facility yourself?" And I was like, "What? Like, I just want to sell leggings. Like, there's nothing sexy about manufacturing that makes me
Right.
feel like I want to get into that. Like, yeah, I want to do that." And then I thought about it, and I was like, there's something here to learn. There's something to kind of take apart and look at, and something to be able to really look at sustainability from a circularity standpoint. And so when I started to look at it through that lens, I was like, aha, let me go ahead and do that. And so I brought the manufacturing in house and learned the manufacturing business, hired employees to make the items. And when people started to hear that that's what I was doing, they were like, hey, I'm having the same issue you were having in terms of getting stuff made. My stuff is stuck on a ship, coming from China. It's been on that ship for 9 months. Like, can you make stuff for us? And so we started to take on some of these projects in terms of manufacturing for other folks. And lo and behold, now we have a direct to consumer side of the business as well as a B2B side of the business where we help
Wow.
companies with being able to manufacture their items and to do it sustainably. So I love that aspect because it allows us to reach more customers and have more of an impact in terms of how it is that we make clothes, whether that is something that's a part of the other brand's business or not. It allows us to be able to have a stronger reach when it comes to sustainability and manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. I 100% love the statement that you just said about there is something here to learn. I mean, thinking about hopping into manufacturing and not being intimidated, but being open minded to say, I know that I probably don't know all the things, but I just need to learn and be open to teach. I feel like that is a boss move. I feel like what gave you the courage to step out in that and to learn in this industry that you know a little bit about, but I mean manufacturing is different than retail and selling.
I think it's just who I am as a person. Like, I have to laugh because I'm
Just
just
like
like, I'm always doing something. Like, that's
you're like,
literally,
I dare me to do that.
I have a thirst for knowledge. Like, I have a
Mm-hmm.
thirst for
Curious.
understanding and trying to figure things out. I don't like not having not necessarily an answer, but an understanding, right? Like even the
Yeah.
basic understanding of something. When I don't know something, I'm like, oh, tell me more about that, just like naturally curious. So, my friends make me laugh because they're like, you always doing so. They're like, what? Wait, what? Like, and I make these leaps where it's like, I went from PR to marketing to like mindfulness to like activewear to manufacturing and soon to be tech, right? So, I think I like kind of reinventing myself, or no, not it's not reinventing myself. I like adding,
Evolving.
I like, yeah, evolving and adding to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I like growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell us now, you just kind of ease that in real.
I knew you were gonna I
Just
caught that
kind of
one. You're like,
just
wait a second.
tacked it in at the end there.
Right.
Mhm.
Let's back up. And we're going to run out of time. So you definitely are going to have to come back. But
Yeah.
now tech, like I want to touch on what's this now tech thing. And also, again, I think this just hits home with so many of our listeners. I know myself, I know Corlin. And like when you think about every time you step into that next, what advice do you have for women who want to just, one, whether that's just disrupting an industry and really just don't know where to start, or when you're doing that thing and it's like, okay, now it's time for that next. Now it's time for that next level and evolving. So kind of, I know that was kind of two-part question, but whichever one you want to go first.
Yeah. So I I know it's disrupting an industry in terms of what we're doing. And when I say tech is, I'm trying to systemize what it is that we're doing based off of the learning that we have as a company and an organization when it comes to on-demand manufacturing, and to be able to
Okay.
put that together from a tech standpoint, to be able to, again, increase our reach of how it is that we align with our goals of being able to wear our values. And maybe when it's ready, I'll come back and explain a little bit more. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're working on. But in terms of disruption, like I don't think I necessarily looked at it as disruption, right? I think it was just remaining curious. And when
Okay.
you see a problem and you have that aha when it comes to a solution, like leaning into that, right? And so like one of the things about, just women and our nature and our curiosity and our desire to want to nurture something, like I think that all of that fell into how it is that I grew as an entrepreneur, like just embracing those aspects of self. And though it is disruption, it is really about doing things in a better way, in a softer way, in a more tangible way, in a more nurturing way, in a more caring way, in a way that aligns with Mother Earth, right? Like, so when it comes to, other entrepreneurs and how they go about their industry and in terms of disruption, is just remain curious and allow that curiosity to allow you to think outside of the box, and to be able to develop ways of being able to develop solutions that are going to help and be helpful, and
Yeah.
and to feel confident in that, right? Like I still get people that are just like, I don't get this, I still get corporations that are like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But there's a shift happening.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the
I think the thing that
no,
go ahead.
I was going to say there's a shift happening. And one of the things that I remember hearing from, I think it was Ben Chestnut from MailChimp, is that like I was like, what made you successful? And he was like, I just stayed in it the longest, right?
Yeah,
And there's
that
been,
stick to itiveness.
yeah, there's been plenty of times that, early on, I wanted to, how do I quit you? I want to quit you, like I want to quit sometimes because, the bigger contracts, the bigger POs weren't coming because, I had larger companies like, hey, this is not making sense or whatever. I don't understand this. And now I'm at a point where the shift is happening, right?
Yeah.
And if I didn't stay in it, if I didn't continue to educate myself, if I didn't continue to evolve and grow and master my craft, I would not be in the position where I am now, where real impact can be made. And so,
That's
just
such a
stay with
mic
it.
drop moment to you. Yeah, like, wow. There's just so much. I know I keep saying we're at time and I keep going, but
You're doing it. What we call that the mustard goodbye in our household. Like you just trying to keep saying goodbye, but you just keep talking. We're just hanging
Yeah.
out.
that's how we do in all of our family
Yeah.
gatherings.
That's the
I'm
mark of a good guest.
Right. I'm curious, Tia, like the manufacturing, the designing piece, the speaker, Tia, or all the things when you think about how you've evolved over the years, like what does Tia love doing the most? Like what was in my years when I finally get to that point where it's not even about money anymore? I want to travel the world and just speak on big stages and just share my story. Like if I can do that 24/7, that's goals. What does that look like for Tia?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of my goals as well. But I would say like it depends on the day. It depends on the day. What I would say, like, who is Tia? Like, I would just say Tia's a creatress.
Nice.
Creatress.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's
Tell us where, first of all the things, because I think there's just so much. Like I'm thinking whether it's I want to learn mindfulness, like what are all of the things that you offer? Like what are all your offerings? And tell our listeners where they can find you.
yeah. So we have Vertical Activewear, which is our direct to consumer brand, and that focuses on apparel for women. And so they can find me there at www.verticalactivewear.com. Then
I've
we
already
have
my discount of 15% off for my first.
Good
and
job, Jess.
And then we have our on-demand manufacturing portion for businesses and companies that want to curate their own collection or even want to white label some of our items and you want to develop a brand, t-shirts, sweatshirts, leggings. We've got a coat client, we've got pet wear. We pretty much do it all. That's at
Wow.
www.verticalondemand.com. And then when it comes to speaking engagements, because I think education is the first, step in terms of really influencing change when it comes to being able to align with wearing your values. Folks can find me at tiarobinson.co. And so, there I do bookings to talk about sustainability, manufacturing, mindfulness, and being a disruptor or a creatress.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Anything else, Core? I know we have to, we could have went on for another hour, Tia. So there will be a Tia Robinson part 2 here.
For sure. I just loved having you on, Tia. I think that your ability to think outside the box and what I was going to say earlier is just as you're talking, what really resonates me is this idea of there in so many of the industries that you're in, this is how we've always done it, where I feel like you've taken that as a challenge to force a continuous improvement that aligns with your values, which is hard to execute well. But I think that that's where we have to do that. And that's where the business meets opportunity a little bit for a lot of us, is that if you see something that is just status quo, is there a way to make it better, different, that makes not only you better, but the humanity and the world better? We're adding value to the way that we do business. And I just think that that is just so remarkable. And I also watched your TED talk, which you did so good. So your speaking is awesome. I checked out your website. So all the things that Tia just mentioned, they're worth a stop and checking it out. She is, you're a mover and a shaker, and I'm excited to see how all this grows. And I can't wait to hear about the tech ideas that you have. It's great.
Yeah. And I will be following up for happy hour soon, since I happen to be in Atlanta. And fun fact, Core, like I am in a city and she's in the city, and these cities cross with we're probably, my guess is 15 minutes away from one another.
Yep.
So,
and we don't have to go into the city.
That's fantastic.
And so I know you know all the good happy hour places.
I would also like to come have happy hour with you ladies. So don't cut me out.
No, you are not out.
I would love to see your manufacturing. I see a little bit in the background, but I would love to come see it. That'd be great.
We've got some industrial babies
So
back
is
here.
that also here in Gwinnett County?
It is. And one of the things that I was doing last year was I invited influencers like every 2 to 3 months to come out and actually experience what on demand manufacturing looks like and to be able to see the quality. So folks could come out, get some leggings, have a few cocktails and some snacks. And then we had the staff here sewing. And I just, wanted to really kind of push that education in terms of why it's important. And specifically when it comes to like influencers who kind of get caught up sometimes in haul culture and, I've got this new thing and that new thing. And so it's been really successful in terms of inviting folks out here so that they can actually kind of feel, live and breathe what on-demand manufacturing is and the benefits of it.
Well, I love
So
that.
great.
And I happen to have a handful of people that I think in the Atlanta area that would be great for that guest list.
Yay.
We will talk about that as well. And Corlin, I'm inviting you as my plus one. So there we go. So now that's
Come on, Corlin.
yes.
You said it, can't take it back.
Right. Pretty good. Listen, this was an amazing, amazing time with you, Tia. Thank you so much for taking your time today and spending it with us. Again, leadlikeagirllab.com and Lead Like a Girl Lab on YouTube. Share this episode with anyone that you think could benefit from listening to this wonderful, inspiring story that Tia has shared with us today. And until next time, we are out.